For 10 years, Mara watched the stars instead of walking beneath them. The observation deck of orbital station Helios curved around her like a silent promise she could never reach again. Outside the transparent shield, ships drifted slowly against a black sky filled with distant suns. Some belonged to humans, others to species she still struggled to name. The galaxy had grown larger since humanity joined it, but her world had grown smaller. She sat in her chair near the glass, hands resting quietly in her lap, pretending she was only there to work. In truth, she came every morning to watch others leave. Explorers boarded shuttles. Diplomats walked confidently across polished floors. Engineers hurried with tools clipped to their belts. Movement was everywhere, movement she no longer owned. A decade earlier, she had been one of them. Myra had once been known as a problem solver, a field engineer capable of adapting to unknown environments faster than most. She had stepped onto alien planets with calm confidence and a curious smile. She had believed that nothing was impossible if given enough time and effort. That belief shattered during an expedition to a world whose atmosphere carried microscopic organisms unknown to human science. Protective systems failed during a storm, and she suffered nerve damage so complex that even advanced alien medicine could not restore her mobility. Doctors from 3 species studied her case. Each offered different solutions: organic regrowth, neural rewiring, genetic reconstruction. None worked. In the end, they told her something humans hated hearing: adaptation would be her only path forward. She adapted. Humans always did, but adapting did not mean accepting quietly. Some nights she stared at the ceiling of her small quarters and felt anger burning behind her calm exterior. She missed walking without thinking. She missed standing beside others without looking up at them. She missed feeling equal. Helios Station was a hub of interspecies cooperation, and its corridors reflected that diversity. Tall silver beings glided without legs. Compact insectoid traders moved in coordinated clusters. A species from a water-rich world floated gently in transparent suits. Compared to them, humans were considered physically average, adaptable but fragile. After her injury, Mara felt that perception deepen. Some aliens spoke to her more slowly, as if weakness affected intelligence. Others avoided mentioning her condition entirely. She learned to ignore it. Her work kept her occupied. She designed structural frameworks for remote colonies, solving problems through simulations and careful planning. The job allowed her to remain valuable, even if she never left the station again. Colleagues respected her mind, but she sensed the quiet assumption that her adventurous life had ended. On one quiet cycle, everything changed. The arrival of the human research vessel Atlas drew attention from across the station. Rumors spread quickly: experimental technology, risky trials, human engineers pushing boundaries again. Many aliens watched with curiosity mixed with skepticism. Humans were known for improvisation, sometimes seen as reckless by more cautious civilizations. Mara noticed the increased activity while reviewing maintenance reports. Cargo containers filled with unfamiliar equipment passed through the corridors. Teams in gray uniforms moved with determined energy. She felt something stir inside her, not hope exactly, but curiosity. Later that day, a message appeared on her console: request for consultation, Human Engineering Division. She almost ignored it. Invitations often led to polite conversations that changed nothing. Still, she accepted. The meeting room overlooked the central docking ring. When she arrived, a man stood waiting beside a display screen filled with shifting diagrams. He looked younger than she expected, with tired eyes that suggested long hours of work. "Mara," he said with a small nod. "I'm Elias Chen." She recognized the name. Known for unconventional designs, sometimes criticized for ignoring traditional solutions, he gestured toward the screen. "I've reviewed your medical data. I hope that's okay." She raised an eyebrow. "People have been reviewing my data for 10 years. He smiled slightly, acknowledging the truth in her tone. "I think we've been asking the wrong question," he said. She waited. "Most species try to restore what was lost," he continued. "Regrow tissue, repair nerves exactly as they were. Humans don't always do that. Sometimes we build something new instead." The screen shifted, revealing the image of sleek mechanical legs layered with adaptive materials. Mara felt her breath catch despite herself. "They're not replacements," Elias explained. "They're partners, neural-integrated prosthetics." Instead of forcing your body to return to its old state, they learn from you, and you learn from them. She looked away briefly, steadying herself. How many times have you told someone this? She asked quietly. You'd be the first. Silence settled between them. He explained the concept in careful detail. The prosthetics connected directly to neural pathways using adaptive interfaces. Early tests showed promising results with limited mobility patients, but no one with damage as complex as hers had attempted full integration. It would require surgery, training, and significant risk. Why me? She asked. Because you understand systems, he said, and because you haven't stopped trying to move forward. The words hit harder than she expected. Hope was dangerous. Hope meant opening herself to disappointment again. 10 years of failed treatments had taught her caution, yet she sensed something different in his approach. Not a promise of restoration, but a challenge to evolve. What happens if it fails? She asked. Then we learn, he said simply. That answer sounded unmistakably human. Days passed as she considered the offer. She watched engineers testing equipment, their determination impossible to ignore. Alien scientists debated loudly in shared spaces, questioning the ethics and safety of such experimentation. Some believed humans relied too heavily on machines. Others argued that merging technology and biology could lead to unpredictable consequences. Mara listened quietly, weighing her decision. One evening, she returned to the observation deck. A shuttle launched slowly from the station, its engines glowing faintly against the darkness. She imagined standing inside, feeling the vibration beneath her feet. The memory hurt. She realized something then. Remaining as she was meant living safely but without growth. Accepting the experiment meant risk, failure, and uncertainty, but also possibility. The next morning, she sent her answer. Yes, preparations began immediately. Medical teams reviewed her condition. Engineers adjusted calibration systems. The prosthetics themselves resembled elegant frameworks rather than heavy machines, designed to integrate seamlessly with movement rather than replace it. Alien observers gathered during early tests, curious to see whether human stubbornness could achieve what advanced biology could not. The procedure took hours. When she woke, the first sensation was weight, not pain exactly, but presence. Something new existed where nothing had responded for years. She tried to move and felt nothing at first, then faintly a flicker, signals searching for pathways. Elias stood nearby, watching carefully. Don't rush, he said gently. Her heart raced as she focused, sending the smallest command she could imagine. A toe shifted. It was barely visible, almost nothing, but it was everything. Tears filled her eyes before she could stop them. The room remained quiet, filled with cautious anticipation. Machines recorded data. Engineers exchanged silent looks. Outside, word spread quickly. The human experiment had begun. Mara lay back, exhausted but unable to stop smiling. For the first time in 10 years, she felt something she had almost forgotten. Not certainty, not recovery. But the possibility of standing again. The first few days after the procedure felt strange to Mara. The new weight attached to her body was not heavy but unfamiliar. Every movement required focus. The prosthetic legs rested beneath her, quiet and still, as if waiting for permission to exist fully. Engineers monitored her closely. Data streamed across displays showing neural signals slowly forming stable pathways. The adaptive systems inside the prosthetics analyzed each signal, learning how her brain communicated. Elias visited every morning. How does it feel? He asked gently. Like trying to remember a language I forgot, she replied. That description fascinated the alien observers. Many species believed movement was automatic, something natural and effortless. Watching a human relearn something so basic revealed how deeply determination shaped their species. The first attempt to sit upright without support came 3 days later. Mara focused carefully, gripping the sides of her chair. Her arms trembled slightly. The prosthetics responded slowly, adjusting their balance systems. She lifted herself. For a moment, she hovered between sitting and standing, unsure if gravity would accept her again. Then her balance failed and she dropped back into the chair. Frustration burned inside her. Elias noticed the change in her expression. That was progress, he said calmly. It didn't feel like it. Humans rarely recognize progress when it's slow, he replied. Training continued. Each day she attempted small movements. Sometimes she succeeded. Often she failed. But every failure created new data, allowing the prosthetics to adapt more precisely. Alien medical specialists watched with interest. One tall crystalline being remarked that human persistence bordered on irrational. Another replied that irrational persistence might be humanity's greatest strength. Mara ignored the conversations. Her world had narrowed to one goal: standing. During the second week, she experienced something unexpected. While focusing on lifting her leg, she felt a faint echo of sensation, almost like muscle memory returning. The prosthetics responded instantly, stabilizing her body as she rose halfway from the chair. Her breath caught. "I'm up," she whispered. Technicians froze, afraid to interrupt. She remained suspended for only a few seconds before lowering herself again, but the room erupted into quiet celebration. News spread quickly through Helios Station. Humans and aliens gathered near the training chamber, watching through transparent panels. Some arrived out of curiosity. Others came because they needed to believe recovery was possible. Despite the progress, setbacks continued. One day, the neural interface overloaded, forcing her to stop early. Another day, she struggled to send clear signals, leaving the prosthetics unresponsive. Those moments hurt the most. Late one evening, after a difficult session, Myra sat alone in the training room. The lights were dim. Outside the window, stars stretched endlessly. She felt tired in a way that went deeper than physical exhaustion. "What if this is as far as I go?" she said quietly. Elias, standing nearby, considered his answer carefully. "Then we still change something," he said. She shook her head. "I don't want to change something, I want to walk." He smiled softly. "That's why you will." She didn't fully believe him, but his confidence steadied her. Training intensified during the third week. Engineers introduced balance exercises, forcing the prosthetics to react to shifting weight. At first, she relied heavily on support rails. Gradually, she reduced her grip. The first full standing moment arrived unexpectedly. She pushed upward, expecting another short attempt, but this time her body aligned perfectly. The prosthetics adjusted automatically, stabilizing her center of gravity. She was standing. Silence filled the room. For several seconds, she did not move. She simply existed in a position she had not known for 10 years. Her eyes filled with tears, but she refused to blink, afraid the moment might disappear. Elias spoke softly. "Take your time." The room erupted into applause when she finally sat down again. But success brought new challenges. Standing was only the beginning. Walking required coordination between intention and motion, a process far more complex than she imagined. Her first step ended with a stumble. The second attempt was worse. Frustration returned stronger than before. The prosthetics reacted faster than her brain could process, causing imbalance. Engineers adjusted sensitivity settings, trying to find the perfect balance between responsiveness and control. Alien commentators debated whether the project had reached its limit. Some argued that standing alone was already a remarkable achievement. Others insisted humans always pushed too far. Myra refused to stop. She trained longer hours, ignoring exhaustion. Each day she demanded more from herself and from the technology. The prosthetics responded by evolving their learning patterns, becoming smoother, more intuitive. During one session, a group of young trainees watched from outside the glass. A small alien child pressed their hands against the barrier, eyes wide with wonder. Mara noticed. She realized she was no longer just a patient. She had become an example. That realization changed her mindset. Instead of fearing failure, she focused on showing what persistence looked like. The first real step happened quietly. She shifted her weight forward, lifting one foot slightly. The prosthetic moved smoothly, placing itself ahead. She followed with the other. 2 steps. She stopped stunned. The room remained silent until Elias whispered, "You're walking." The words felt unreal. She laughed, a sound filled with disbelief and relief. Progress accelerated after that moment. Short walks turned into longer sessions. The prosthetics learned to predict her intentions before signals fully formed, making movement feel more natural. Yet emotional challenges surfaced as well. Walking again forced her to confront memories of the accident, moments she had buried deeply. Sometimes she stopped suddenly, overwhelmed by flashes of fear. Elias encouraged her to slow down when needed. "Strength isn't only physical," he reminded her. One day, an emergency alarm sounded across the station during training. Systems malfunctioned briefly, causing lights to flicker. Instinctively, Mara stood and moved toward the exit without thinking. She froze mid-step, realizing she had moved automatically. No hesitation, no conscious command. Her body and the prosthetics were becoming one system. Alien observers exchanged excited murmurs. Human engineers smiled quietly. But outside the training room, political pressure grew. Some alien councils questioned whether the technology might lead to human enhancement beyond natural limits. Rumors spread that humans were trying to create super soldiers disguised as medical advancements. Mara heard the whispers. Instead of feeling discouraged, she felt protective of the project. This was not about superiority, it was about possibility. During a public demonstration requested by station leadership, she walked across the chamber slowly but confidently. Representatives from many species watched closely. She paused halfway, looking at the audience. "For 10 years," she said softly, "I believed my story had ended." "Humans don't accept endings easily." Her words resonated deeply. After the demonstration, support for the project increased. Funding stabilized. Critics grew quieter. Still, Mara knew the journey was far from complete. Walking was no longer impossible, but true freedom required more than careful steps inside a controlled environment. She wanted to run, explore, and return to the life she lost. Late that night, alone again in the observation deck, she stood without assistance. The stars felt closer than before. For the first time since the accident, she felt tall, not just physically, human, and ready for whatever came next. The first time Mara walked alone through the main corridor of Helios Station, she felt every step like a quiet victory. The polished floor reflected the soft glow of overhead lights, and for a moment she slowed down just to watch her own movement. The sound of her steps echoed gently, something she had not heard from herself in years. People noticed. Humans smiled openly. Alien visitors paused mid-conversation, watching with curiosity and respect. Some remembered seeing her in the chair for years, moving silently through the station. Now she walked with careful confidence, neither rushing nor hiding. The prosthetics responded smoothly beneath her, adjusting balance without effort. Each day they felt more natural, more like a part of her body instead of something separate. Training continued, but now the focus changed. Standing and walking were no longer the goal. Freedom was. Ilias explained that the adaptive system inside the prosthetics was reaching a new phase. Instead of simply learning from her movements, it began predicting patterns, allowing faster response times. "This is where it becomes truly yours," he told her. She nodded, though part of her still feared losing control. The idea of technology anticipating her thoughts felt strange, almost too advanced. Yet every successful movement built trust. One afternoon, she attempted her first run. It started as a simple increase in speed. She moved faster down the training corridor, feeling energy surge through her body. The prosthetics adjusted instantly, stabilizing her center of gravity. Then instinct took over. She ran. The movement felt both familiar and new. Air rushed past her. Her heart raced, but not from fear, from joy. She laughed out loud, unable to stop herself. Engineers watching nearby exchanged excited glances, recording every moment. When she finally slowed to a stop, tears filled her eyes again. "I forgot what this felt like," she whispered. Ilias stood nearby, smiling quietly. "You didn't forget. You just needed a new way to reach it." News of her progress spread beyond Helios Station. Human colonies followed updates closely, seeing her journey as a symbol of resilience. Some alien worlds also began requesting information about the technology, curious whether it could help their own injured citizens. Not everyone supported the project. Certain political groups argued that human enhancement blurred the line between healing and transformation. They feared a future where technology gave humans an advantage over other species. Mara listened to these debates with mixed emotions. She never saw herself as enhanced, only restored in a different way. Yet she understood how powerful the prosthetics appeared to outsiders. One evening, station leadership invited her to speak at an interspecies council meeting. Representatives from dozens of civilizations gathered in a large circular chamber. The air felt heavy with expectation. She stood at the center, aware that many eyes watched her legs rather than her face. "For a long time," she began slowly, "I thought strength meant returning to who I was before my injury. But humans learn something important when life changes. Sometimes strength means becoming someone new." The room remained silent. This technology didn't erase my weakness. It worked with it. It listened to my body instead of forcing it to be perfect. That is what humans do. We build bridges where there are gaps. Her words shifted the tone of the conversation. Instead of fear, curiosity grew stronger. After the meeting, several alien representatives approached her privately. Some asked technical questions. Others shared stories of their own injuries or limitations. For the first time, she realized her journey affected more than just humanity. Weeks passed, and she pushed herself further. She walked longer distances, climbed stairs, and practiced complex movements. The prosthetics adapted continuously, learning subtle patterns from her posture and balance. One day, during a routine training session, an emergency alarm echoed through the station. The sound cut through the air sharply. "Structural failure in outer maintenance ring," a voice announced over the system. Mara felt tension spread through the room. Emergency teams rushed past the training area, moving quickly toward the affected sector. She followed instinctively, forgetting hesitation. As she reached the outer corridor, she saw chaos unfolding. A section of the ring had destabilized, and several workers were trapped behind a malfunctioning barrier. Automated drones attempted to assist, but debris blocked their path. Without thinking, she moved forward. "Wait," someone called, but she kept going. The damaged floor required careful balance. Years earlier, she would have been forced to watch from the sidelines. Now she stepped forward, feeling the prosthetics adjust to uneven surfaces instantly. She reached the control panel near the barrier. Sparks flickered from exposed wiring. Her hands moved quickly, recalling engineering skills she had not used physically in years. "Manual override engaged," she said firmly. The barrier lifted slowly, allowing trapped workers to escape. Relief filled their faces as they rushed past her. Only after the situation stabilized did she realize she had acted without fear. The memory of being unable to move felt distant, almost unreal. Later, news reports described her actions across multiple networks. Alien commentators who once doubted human methods now praised adaptability and courage. But for Mara, the moment felt personal rather than heroic. She had simply done what she always wanted to do, help. After the emergency, Elias approached her quietly. "You didn't hesitate," he said. She shook her head slowly. "I didn't have time to think. That means it's natural now." She smiled softly. Training eventually moved outside the station. For the first time since her accident, she joined an expedition team preparing to visit a nearby planetary surface. The idea filled her with both excitement and nervous energy. The shuttle ride felt surreal. She stood near the window, watching the planet grow larger beneath them. Clouds drifted slowly across blue oceans. The landing site stretched into wide-open terrain, untouched and beautiful. When the ramp lowered, she paused briefly at the threshold. 10 years ago, she had stepped onto alien worlds without hesitation. Now each step carried deeper meaning. She walked forward. The ground felt solid beneath her feet. Wind brushed against her face. She closed her eyes for a moment, breathing deeply. Members of the expedition watched quietly, understanding the significance of the moment. She took another step, then another, moving across the surface with growing confidence. The prosthetics adjusted automatically to changes in terrain, stabilizing her with gentle precision. Laughter escaped her again, light and free. Later that evening, she stood alone under the open sky. Stars filled the darkness above, brighter than they ever appeared from the station. She realized something important then. Her journey was never about returning to the past. It was about discovering a future she never imagined. The technology that helped her stand also changed how others saw humanity. Instead of fragile beings dependent on biology, humans became known as creators of possibility. Months later, as she walked through the busy corridors of Helios Station again, she noticed how different everything felt. Not because the station changed, but because she had. People no longer looked at her with quiet pity. They looked at her with respect, not just for overcoming injury, but for redefining what recovery meant. Elias joined her near the observation deck where her journey began. "You remember sitting here every day," he said. She nodded. "And now?" She looked out at the stars, standing tall. "Now I'm ready to go wherever they lead." A new shuttle prepared for departure in the distance. Exploration called again, not as a memory, but as a promise. Mara turned away from the window and walked forward without hesitation, her steps steady and confident. The sound echoed softly through the corridor. a reminder that humanity's greatest strength was not perfection, but the ability to rise again, stronger, different, and unafraid. And as she moved toward the future, the galaxy watched, learning that humans did not simply survive change. They transformed it into something extraordinary,